The dim glow of a single desk lamp cuts through the shadows of a cluttered study, casting long, jagged silhouettes across leather-bound books stacked like ancient sentinels on oak shelves. A faint scent of aged paper and polished wood lingers, mixed with the sharp tang of black coffee cooling in a forgotten mug. Outside, the city pulses with distant sirens and the low hum of traffic, but in here, time bends differently, slower, heavier, as if the walls themselves hold secrets that whisper only to those who listen closely. He sits there, fingers drumming idly on the armrest of a worn armchair, his eyes fixed on the flickering screen of his phone. A message pops up, her name lighting the display like a spark in the dark. "Miss you already," it reads, simple words that carry an undercurrent of something deeper, something unspoken. But he doesn't reply. Not yet. The clock ticks forward, each second a deliberate choice, and in that silence, power shifts invisibly, like a chess piece moved in the dead of night. She waits on the other end, somewhere across town in a sleek apartment, where the skyline twinkles through floor-to-ceiling windows. The soft buzz of her phone echoes off marble counters, but no response comes. Her mind races, did he see it? Is he busy? Or is this something else? A pull she can't quite name. The air in her space feels charged now, not with frustration, but with a subtle intrigue that draws her in further. She's used to men who flood her with attention, who chase and cling like vines overtaking a wall. But this calculated pause, this boundary he draws without a word is intoxicating, a riddle wrapped in restraint. And as the minutes stretch, she finds herself smiling, not despite the weight, but because of it. What is it about him that flips the script so effortlessly? Cut to a crowded bar downtown, where laughter ricochets off exposed brick walls and the clink of glasses mingles with thumping bass from hidden speakers. He's there with friends, but his focus sharpens when she walks in tall, poised, the kind of woman who turns heads without trying, her presence a quiet command. They lock eyes across the room, and for a split second, the noise fades. She approaches, her heels clicking rhythmically on the hardwood floor, a subtle perfume trailing like an invitation. Conversation flows easy at first, light banter laced with wit, but then she probes deeper, asking about his past, his vulnerabilities. He smiles, deflects with a story that reveals just enough to intrigue, but nothing that cracks the facade. Some things are better left to unfold, he says, his voice low and steady, eyes holding hers without flinching. She leans in closer, drawn by the wall he's built, not to shut her out, but to make her want to scale it. Why does this work? Why does her pulse quicken at the edge he maintains rather than crumbling like so many others? Flashback to earlier that day, in a sunlit cafe where steam rises from espresso cups and the aroma of fresh pastries fills the space. He's meeting another potential connection, but as she overshares, spilling emotions like spilled sugar across the table, he feels the shift. No boundaries here, just an open floodgate, and in that moment, attraction wanes. It's not cruelty, it's instinct, a recognition that value lies in the spaces we protect. High-value women, the ones who command their own worlds, aren't drawn to the eager or the exposed, they seek the enigma, the man who mirrors their own guarded grace. Now picture a late-night drive along winding coastal roads, the ocean crashing below under a moonlit sky, salt air whipping through open windows. He's behind the wheel, her in the passenger seat, wind tousling her hair as they talk about dreams and ambitions. She shares a vulnerability, a crack in her armor, and he listens intently, offering insight without reciprocity. When she turns the question back, he pauses, lets the engine's rumble fill the gap. Boundaries aren't walls, he thinks to himself. They're invitations to those worthy enough to respect them. And she does. Instead of pushing, she settles into the silence, the mystery fueling a deeper connection than any forced confession could. This dance repeats in subtle variations, a dinner where candlelight flickers across crystal glasses, and he ends the evening early, leaving her wanting more. A text exchange where his responses are thoughtful but sparse, each one a hook that reels her in. Contradictions abound, He's warm yet distant, engaged yet elusive. It's this push-pull that captivates, turning pursuit into a game where she chases not out of need but desire. Sensory details anchored all the cool touch of a wineglass stem, the faint echo of jazz in the background, the electric brush of fingertips accidental yet charged. But beneath the surface simmers a philosophy, ancient and timeless, drawn from the shadows of Renaissance intrigue. Niccolo Machiavelli, the Florentine strategist whose words on power have shaped empires, whispers through these moments, not the caricature villain of manipulation, but the keen observer of human nature, who understood that true influence comes not from overt force, but from the artful drawing of lines. In his world of princes and principalities, boundaries were tools of attraction and control, luring allies while warding off foes. Apply that to the modern arena of relationships, and suddenly the script flips. Men who master these boundaries don't chase high-value women, they become the prize. As the night deepens in that study, he finally types a reply, brief and teasing, reigniting the spark. She responds almost instantly, the contradiction resolved in her favor, or so she thinks. But the real power lies in the boundaries he set, invisible threads that weave attraction into something profound. What are these boundaries? How do they echo Machiavelli's cunning? The journey begins here, in the interplay of shadow and light, where restraint becomes the ultimate seduction. The first boundary draws from Machiavelli's insistence on the appearance of virtue, but with a twist tailored to the psychological dance of attraction. High-value women, those who navigate life with confidence and selectivity, are attuned to emotional landscapes like seasoned cartographers. They sense weakness from afar, not as a flaw to exploit, but as a signal to disengage. So, the boundary of unyielding frame emerges as a cornerstone. It's not about feigning strength, it's about embodying it through consistent emotional dominion. Consider a scenario where tension brews, perhaps an argument sparked by a misunderstood intention. In the heat of it, voices rise like storm winds, her words sharp and probing. The average man crumbles, apologizing profusely or retreating into defensiveness, his frame shattering like fragile glass under pressure. But the Machiavellian adept holds firm, his response measured, acknowledging her point without yielding ground. "I see where you're coming from," he says calmly, voice steady as an anchored ship, "but this is how I view it. No escalation, no surrender, just a boundary that says, my reality stands and yours must align or adapt." This isn't cold detachment, it's emotional mastery, a tactic that flips the script. Women psychologically wired for security and strength find this irresistible. Studies in evolutionary psychology hint at it. Females select mates who exhibit dominance not through aggression, but through unflappable control. Machiavelli echoed this in advising princes to appear merciful yet firm, for it is much safer to be feared than loved if one cannot be both. In romance, translate fear to respect high-value women, respect the man whose frame doesn't bend to whims, drawing them closer like gravity. Dive deeper into the immersion. Feel the pulse of that moment, her eyes searching his for cracks, finding none. The air thickens with unspoken challenge, her frustration morphing into fascination. Why? Because this boundary signals value self-assured, not needy. Social tactics amplify it. In group settings, he doesn't vie for attention but commands it subtly, redirecting conversations without force. Let's hear what she has to say. He interjects during a dinner party debate, steering the flow while maintaining his position. She watches, intrigued by his orchestration, the way he dominates without domination. Psychologically, this taps into female desire for a partner who leads emotionally. High-value women, often independent achievers, crave someone who matches their intensity without overwhelming it. The boundary creates a safe space for vulnerability hers, not his prematurely. Machiavelli's counsel on fortresses applies, build them strong to deter sieges. In relationships, an unyielding frame deters emotional games, attracting those who value depth over drama. Extend this narrative. Nights turn into shared adventures, where his steadfastness becomes the anchor. A crisis hits work stress, family issues, and she leans on him, not because he's a savior, but because his boundary of strength invites trust. He listens, advises with Machiavellian precision, practical, unemotional, turning potential chaos into conquered territory. The immersion intensifies. Sensory echoes of shared silences. The warmth of proximity contrasted with his cool resolve. But beware the pitfalls. Rigidity without flexibility mimics tyranny, repelling rather than attracting. Machiavelli warned of excess. Balance the boundary with genuine connection. A touch here, a knowing glance there, subtle affirmations that humanize the frame. This dance, fluid and rhythmic, weaves psychology and strategy into an unbreakable bond. As we transition, remember, boundaries aren't barriers, they're blueprints for desire. The next layer builds on this foundation, delving into the art of calculated revelation. Machiavelli's world thrived on information asymmetry. The prince who knows more than he reveals holds the reins. Translate this to the boundary of selective disclosure, a powerful lure for high-value women who thrive on intellectual stimulation and emotional depth. In a sea of oversharers flooding social media with every thought, the man who parcels out his inner world like rare gems stands apart, creating a vacuum of curiosity that pulls her in. Picture an intimate evening, soft jazz drifting from speakers, the flicker of firelight dancing on walls, adorned with abstract art. Conversation meanders from light topics to probing ones. She asks about his passions, his scars. Instead of unloading, he offers a sliver story from his travels, rich with detail. The dusty roads of Tuscany under a scorching sun, the taste of Chianti lingering on his tongue, a lesson learned in solitude. But he stops short, leaving threads dangling. There's more to that tale, he teases with a half smile, eyes glinting with withheld promise. Her mind ignites. High-value women, often intellectually voracious, relish the puzzle. Psychologically, this taps into the Zygarnik effect. Unfinished stories linger, compelling completion. Machiavelli mastered this in diplomacy, revealing just enough to ally without vulnerability. In attraction, it signals mystery, not evasion, differentiating from the transparent masses who bore with predictability. Socially, deploy it in networks. At events, he engages deeply but briefly, excusing himself at peaks, leaving her craving continuation. We'll pick this up next time. He says, a tactical retreat that amplifies anticipation. Domination here is emotional, her thoughts orbit him in absence, building investment without effort. Immersed in the rhythm, days pass, texts exchanged like coded messages, each revealing a layer while concealing depths. She probes gently, rewarded with insights that feel earned, fostering a bond of mutual respect. Female psychology responds to this: women select for providers of emotional intrigue, not bland openness. Machiavelli's The Prince advises feigning sincerity. Here, it's authentic selectivity, attracting those who match in sophistication. Yet, calibration matters. Too much withholding breeds suspicion. Pepper disclosures with vulnerability at key moments, like sharing a fear after trust builds, turning the boundary into a bridge. This fluidity ensures immersion, a narrative where she becomes co-author, drawn ever deeper. Building on disclosure's allure, we enter the realm of autonomy, where independence becomes a magnetic force. The boundary of sovereign independence channels Machiavelli's edict that a prince must rely on his own arms, not mercenaries. In modern terms, it's a man who crafts his life as a self-sustaining empire, attracting high-value women who seek equals, not dependence. Clinginess repels, autonomy entices, signaling value through self-reliance. Envision a weekend apart. She's at a conference. He pursues gym sessions, where sweat beads on skin under harsh lights, the metallic clang of weights echoing resolve, evenings lost in books, pages turning with purposeful intent, no barrage of messages checking in. Instead, a single thoughtful note. Heard about your panel, knock 'em dead. When they reunite, stories flow, his independence a spark that reignites chemistry. Psychologically, this resonates with female hypergamy seeking partners of higher or equal status. Independence broadcasts capability, emotional and otherwise. Machiavelli cautioned against alliances that weaken, Here, it's avoiding codependency that dilutes attraction. Social tactics. He maintains circles beyond her, dinners with friends where laughter rings authentic, not performative. She joins occasionally, witnessing his world, aspiring to integrate without subsuming. The immersion pulses. Solitude's quiet power contrasts shared intensity, her respect growing as she sees his life as a choice, not necessity. Domination is subtle. He leads by example, inspiring her growth. Balance with inclusion. Independence isn't isolation. Share visions, align paths, turning boundaries into shared horizons. As rhythms flow, this boundary synergizes with prior ones, forging a tapestry of attraction. Machiavelli revered fortune's wheel, but urged princes to master it through virtue bold action. Thus, the boundary of audacious ambition captivates, drawing high-value women to men who pursue greatness with unrelenting drive, their energy a beacon in a world of mediocrity. Scene, a bustling co-working space, keyboards clacking, coffee machines, hissing, steam. He's immersed in the project, eyes laser-focused on screens displaying charts and code, the hum of ambition palpable. She glimpses this fire during a chance encounter, drawn not to the details, but the intensity, the way he commands his domain. Female psychology craves ambition as a proxy for provision and protection. Evolutionary cues favor go-getters. Machiavelli's fortune is a woman. To be beaten and coerced translates to conquering goals, not passivity. Socially, he networks with purpose, alliances formed like treaties, elevating his status and hers by association. Immersion deepens, shared dreams discussed over midnight walks, city lights blurring, his vision infectious. She invests, not out of pity, but admiration. Emotional domination. Ambition boundaries filter the unworthy, attracting those who match in drive, yet avoid obsession. Integrate her into the ascent, making ambition a joint conquest. The fifth boundary echoes Machiavelli's ruthlessness, pragmatic, not cruel. The boundary of decisive pruning, where excising toxicities preserves the core, attracting women who value clarity over chaos. Imagine detecting red flags, inconsistency, drama. He addresses firmly, "This doesn't align with what I want," severing ties without remorse. High-value women respect this. It signals self-respect, mirroring their own standards. Psychologically, it fosters security knowing he's discerning. Social tactics. Curate environments, pruning social circles for quality. Domination. Emotional clarity commands loyalty. Rhythm builds. Post-pruning, connections deepen. Immersion in purity. Finally, the boundary of enigmatic generosity. Machiavelli's blend of liberality and stinginess, giving meaningfully, not lavishly, to sustain desire. Gifts timed perfectly, a book resonating with her soul, not extravagance. Psychology, intermittent rewards heighten attraction. Socially, generosity in actions, like support during trials, builds bonds. Immersion, gestures weave mystery, her unraveling layers endlessly. These boundaries, woven from Machiavellian threads, transform the ordinary into the magnetic, drawing high-value women through psychological mastery and social finesse. In the quiet aftermath, as shadows lengthen and revelations settle, a profound shift emerges. You've journeyed through these boundaries, each a facet of a greater whole, echoing Machiavelli's timeless wisdom in the pulse of modern desire. No longer the pursuer, you become the pursued. Your life a fortress of value that high-value women siege not to conquer, but to cherish. Emotional dominion isn't conquest, it's harmony, where strength meets grace in a dance that elevates both. Synthesize this. Boundaries forge authenticity, attracting souls who see your depths. Transformation awaits, embrace it, and watch worlds align. If this resonated, hit that subscribe button now, join the cadre unlocking these secrets. Like if a boundary sparked insight. Comment your takeaways below, and share with a friend ready to level up. Your engagement fuels the fire. Let's build empires together.